Great, thanks. I'm going to kick off then. So today we're looking at document automation, which is not only applicable to Acumatica, but obviously that's our product. So Acumatica is the world's fastest growing cloud ERP in the mid-market. That's been over the past 8 years. So that is our product. But what we're looking at today is more generic, happens to be applicable to Acumatica, but other ERP as well. All right, so in the webinar today, I'm just going to give you some background on automation. Not that you'd need it probably, but just to point out the parts of automation that are starting to happen and are available already. On the document automation side, Kurt's been in document automation for many years and has worked with different ERP platforms, including Acumatica. So Kurt's going to talk about today. We're focusing on AR outbound, we call it, automation, that Kurt will just touch on, and we'll run another webinar on the AP automation as well, but you're welcome to ask him questions. Onno Rotenbach from Absolve is going to talk about banking automation. So Onno, he's with one of the ERP vendors. They're an Oracle house, but they're also Acumatica. And he has a really, really good product that we're kind of putting in everywhere around banking automation for Acumatica and other ERP. So just a word on automation. So we heard this, I mean, it's been around for a while. We heard this term BPA, business process automation, but it wasn't always there. And there were, early in the early days, 15 years ago, there was kind of workflow tools. But we're seeing a lot of automation built into the ERP system like Acumatica. So I'm going to briefly show you some of those to start with. But, a lot of the automation that is there, people aren't aware of maybe or don't use, but it's really, really useful and powerful. So the benefits of automation is the concept of continuous close means something is rapidly brought to conclusion. An example might be an inbound email that's going to be allocated to somebody in sales. So monitoring a mailbox, automatically sending that mail to the right person or team, getting the case opened and a mail back to the prospect saying, Bernard's got your case or your inquiry, opening, processing it and closing the process is very valuable to an organization. That's just one of it. Could be financial, it could be creditor related, debtor related, inventory related, but continuous close is highly beneficial. And it does mean that things are not left undone or falling through the cracks. So that's the benefit of that. Accuracy, and I think together with accuracy goes consistency. So automation means you're going to do something the same way. Now, the good thing is if you're doing it the wrong way and it's automated, you can fix that. If it's not automated and people sometimes do human error, do things a different way, you can't really fix it. It's not consistent. So I always say doing things over and over the wrong way is good because you can fix it. You can change how you're doing it. And that's what automation leads to, is better accuracy, doing things consistently the right way. Accessing real-time information. So automation means that things are pushed. You want to know what you need to know, not what you don't need to know. And automation is part of that. So we call it notifications in Acumatica, sending people information via email, via SMS, via push notification, and via dashboard alerts is really valuable. So telling you what you need to know, not what you don't need to know at the right time. And timely insights, I guess, is the benefit of all that. So some of the automation, just in my quick intro, and I'll show you this. I like to, you guys that know me know I like to show live software, but I'll show you some of this automation I'm talking about. But automation around financials, so automatic deferral of revenue for IFRS is an example where if it's not automatic, it's manual and it's cumbersome and it's prone to a lot of errors. So revenue deferral on receivables, cost deferral on costs automatically, allocation of expenses based on rules. So, automatically allocate the IT costs to departments based on headcount. Allocate the rent automatically to cost centers departments based on square meters occupied. Would be an example of automatic allocation. Rule-based approvals. So in Acumatica, we use that a lot. So based on the company tree, we call it, or the DOA, delegation of authority, levels, and who's who in the zoo, based on events that are triggered, like a purchase order, if it's over 100,000 Rand and it's for this type of thing, it's CapEx, send it to so-and-so. And if it's under 100,000 Rand and it's CapEx, send it there, et cetera, et cetera. All sorts of other things. Processes, sales, manufacturing, service, all those things, automation is really great. So the example I gave when we started around inbound opportunity automation, applies right through the cycle, right through to, so the order to cash cycle is open to a lot of good process automation. Same with manufacturing and service. E-commerce is something we're doing a lot more now, and because we're connecting the e-commerce platforms to Acumatica, and I know some of you on the call are doing that already, automation is key there because you want things triggered, and that's cross-platform, sometimes cross-platform. It could be a Shopify e-commerce platform, but you've got to trigger a return in inventory in the warehouse. You need that connectivity, and you need the automation. Email automation, Acumatica is really good at that, probably the most underused feature. That's inbound and outbound mail automation. Kurt's going to show us some email automation stuff today. So messaging automation is really powerful. Banking automation, we're going to look at in detail, so I'm not going to touch on that, but that's also something that I think everybody needs if you're doing more than X 100 transactions. That's linking to the bank for validation, a statement upload, matching, creating transactions, reconciliation automatically, and processing of payments and automation of all that stuff. And then, as I said, Kurt's going to be focusing on AR automation today, and he'll touch on AP automation as well, which he does. So on the AP automation, there's a nice little picture just talking about it, and this is starting to use the AI and ML, the machine learning and artificial intelligence capabilities out there, and OCR, so that based on intelligence, things are recognized. So the word bill we supply means supply invoice, automatically processed and pushed into the ERP, being Acumatica in this case. So before I get there, I'll just want to pop into my Acumatica. I'm not going to spend long here, but on various screens, you'll see automation examples. So on a purchase order screen in Acumatica, the automation that happens there is normally around the tools being business events, things that trigger something, and notifications. So notifications being, just refresh my screen. Notifications being telling somebody what's happened. Okay, it's going. So a business event would be any trigger on it. So any event on any screen in Acumatica, including a custom field, can trigger something. So this one says a purchase order is waiting approval, and a notification would be what must the system do when there's a trigger. So it would send an email to somebody internally, or maybe to the customer, and once something is approved, it would send another email. So that's an automation that occurs in any screen in Acumatica, and you'll see in all the screens in Acumatica we've got this workflow which can be customized, and the workflow is showing what is the process you go through different sorts of purchase orders through to the conclusion of the purchase order being approved and or rejected. Okay, so that's an example. There's all sorts of examples under banking, importing transactions automatically. Wherever you see this process button, another good example I think is this. So if we go to currency and we go to refresh currency rates in Acumatica, wherever you see the word process means you can automate it. Okay, how do you automate it? You put a clock on it, which means when do you want it to run? You put conditions on it, when must it be triggered? So this will say, refresh the exchange rate automatically, go to the internet, find them, refresh them, like I'm going to do manually now, every 10 minutes. So that when people process transactions, they don't have to input the exchange rate on a deemed transaction. Okay, obviously on a bank payment, they need to put the real exchange rate. But this kind of automation reduces errors, improves efficiency, etc., etc. So there's loads of that stuff. Dashboards in Acumatica are automated because they're programmed to refresh themselves periodically, as quickly as or as slow as you want to. It could be live information. So the refresh says every 12 hours, but it could be on-page reload, refresh all the time. Okay, and that dashboard notification together with a message will tell you, hey, there's 13 orders late. So let me stop there before I get carried away. And I'm going to hand over to Kurt. So I'll unshare my screen. And Kurt, while you're getting online, I'm just going to unshare, if you can share your screen. So Kurt, as I mentioned, has been partnering with us in the Acumatica space since we started Acumatica. Before that was Sage, and he still does work with other ERPs. So Kurt, let me hand over to you. Welcome, and thanks for your time today.
Cool, thanks, Ben. It's always hard to keep up. You go so fast. I feel like my demos are always so slow. But anyway, so basically, You dispel so much information so quickly. Yeah. Basically, Virtual Postman is a electronic document management system, and it's really designed about interfacing between different systems. So Acumatica's got a very cool interface architecture, so we can interface into Acumatica's SOAP services, web services, and what we essentially do is we sit between the outside world and the ERP. So between your customers and your suppliers and the ERP. Now, ERPs are slowly encroaching in on our space by providing more of the services of importing documents, but there's always a place for sort of pre-indexing, storage, handling the sort of volume of the documents. Instead of trying to store them in your ERP, store them in a system that's designed to store documents, that's designed to manage documents, and that's where we come in. So we fit into the AP space and the AR space. I'm going to start off today just with the AR space. So we archive the statements and invoices that are generated in Acumatica. It's always nice to have a copy of your invoice on a document management system, which is accessible to all your customers. So if you've got 1,000 customers, they can view the documents without having to have an expensive ERP license. They can have just a view license for a document management system. Then we also deliver the documents. So we'll import your invoices. We'll import the delivery profiles from your ERP, and then we'll encrypt them so they're SARS compliant, and we'll email them off. We'll also collate them, and we've got multiple methods of delivery. So we can, create. We can print the documents out. We can send them to FTP folders. We can send links. So any sort of objection that your customers have, that's our job to solve that. So, for example, one of our customers is Value Logistics. They've got 4,000 odd customers, and there's always an objection as to when they want to get their PODs, when they want to get their invoices, when they want to get their statements, how they want to get them, and our job is to provide that flexibility to you. I'm just going to show you a quick demo of VP. So it's, like I said, it's a web-based system. I log in here. I've done some imports of documents from Acumatica. So here is a sample of a Acumatica statement that's been imported. We build a hyperlink from the statement to the invoice, and then from the invoice, we have a hyperlink to the proof of delivery. That obviously improves the receipt of your cash, because you reduce the number of queries, and your customers know that they must pay you first because you've got all your stuff in order. We then track all of the communications to your customers, and so you can see who received what document. And if you want to see what it looks like on the actual how your customers receive it, they'll receive a statement with a personalized message with all you know, all the variables in the that relate to that particular document. They'll then I can open the statement, and they've got the same flexibility of clicking through to all the supporting documents. We've built a system in a modular way. So we have a lot of plugins. You know, if you've got a specific customer that you're dealing with, like you need to import delivery notes from them, Virtual Postman is very flexible in terms of how it receives documents. It supports file archiving. You can add a file archive location where we support, you know, the FTP, FTPS, local file, SFTP, Windows Share, etc., all the protocols. So we can import documents using file archiving, email archiving. You can set up mailboxes that we can poll, and then you can specify what must happen with the attachments. And so you can see here, I've said if I receive a PDF attachment on that email, then I'm going to save it in the attachments node. So that will then go into our email archive attachments node. This is for an inbound PDF. And we have this concept called document queues. So if I go to that email archive attachments, if I go to that particular node, and I look at my document queues, on the archive event, I can run a various queues that need to be processed. So this could be a plugin that we've written, you know, to read the barcode, OCR the document, extract certain patterns, and then queue the document up for import into another system. So we use this all over the place. So in this case, what I'm doing here is I'm extracting the text of that document, and then I can go to my content search. I can look here. I can type the word, I think I saw the word demo there, search for that. And then I can, it'll go through all the documents, and it'll find the ones that have got that reference in. Okay, while that's running, we also have the concept of click index, where you can just click on a field on the document, and it will populate the value in the field here. So this is like a low stress indexing agent to make your capturers' jobs a lot easier. We also have a production scan client that's launched from the web. So you can just launch that off. And there's the scan client. I'm just going to scan in some documents. Just going to run a simulation here. Click scan. It basically uses the barcode as a document separator. So as it runs through the batch of pages, it joins the documents together based on the barcodes. So from here, we've got 4 pages, 2 documents. I then hit a verify, which will take the document number. It will connect to Acumatica. It'll bring back the customer code. And once we've got the customer code, we can essentially deliver the document. So once it hits Virtual Postman,
Kurt, could have asked a question, but that would be useful for proof of deliveries, that where you've got hundreds of them a day, and you put them, they come back, and you use the scan client to pull them in.
Yeah.
And we print them out of Acumatica with the barcode. so that they get indexed and they get attached inside of Acumatica, matched as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, perfect.
So if I go to accounts receivable, my scan client, proof of deliveries. So those documents were uploaded. I can then get the document. And that document would have, we have a delivery profile. So when the document is archived, it will immediately look up the index code. So if the customer code is equal to we buy or widget buy, then it will email it off. And you've got various options under your delivery profile. You can send it as you can have your send user as the node default, or you can have it as the credit controller. You can specify your attachment level. You can merge it. You can send it as links. You can schedule it to run at a on a specific day or at a specific time from a bandwidth point of view, and then those documents will be automatically emailed off to your customers. So it's just automating that whole archiving of your accounts receivable documents and all their supporting documents.
So
that's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can ask another question, so your debt collecting department in the organization, can they have a link through from Acumatica to find supporting docs? So they're trying to collect money and someone says I didn't receive the goods. How quickly can they access the supporting document that was signed and mail it to the client? And
we have, like I showed you with those document queues, once the document is the proof of delivery has been uploaded, we can notify Acumatica. Well, we can notify it when it's scanned in at the scan station, and we can notify it when it hits when it's archived on the server, and we can put a link to it. We've actually just done an implementation for an Acumatica client where they create a sales order. As soon as they create the sales order, we import it into Virtual Postman. We add a link to pay fast, and then they pay for the goods. And then once we receive confirmation from PayFast that the payment was successful, we update Acumatica that it was paid, and then the goods can be released to the customer.
Okay. Yeah, that's useful.
Yeah. So just that's that's where we fit in on the accounts receivable.
Yeah. Great. So I don't know if there's any questions from anyone else on the call. Any other questions? You're welcome to unmute and ask anything. If not, then I'm going to ask Arno to share his screen. Thanks, Kurt. That was great. So Arno, if you can share. So yeah,
Thanks,
Arno,
Kurt.
you can introduce yourself, I'm sure. So I'll hand over to Arno.
Sure, no problem. Let me just share my screen. Go. Quite like Kurt's presentation today. Kurt, I think it's very valuable. It's a pity that we don't get to know these things earlier. So thanks for sharing. It's you've got a great product. So maybe just a quick introduction from myself. I've known Bernard now for a few years. I'm also very impressed by how quickly he can give information across. So I'm going to try and give as much information as I possibly can. But my role within Absolve is I'm the Chief Revenue Officer, and basically looking after business development. And Bernard and Absolve has partnered on a few occasions now with regards to positioning our product called B Banking, which stands for Business Efficient Banking, into the Acumatica customer base, where we've got, and really it is about ensuring automation in banking. I'm going to not bore you too much with a presentation. I want to get into the product as quickly as possible, but I do think if you look at bank automation, it is critical that you know that the product is a tried and trusted product as well. So I'll give you a bit of background just so that you know where we are and what we do. So basically, B Banking has been around for about 20 years. We are a bank automation product agnostic to an ERP. So we do have other ERPs apart from Acumatica utilizing B Banking. We do about 20,000 payments each month via B Banking. We've got some of the biggest corporates in South Africa using B Banking for both payroll and supplier payments. And on supplier payment side, we do both local and foreign payments. We are also one of only 2 banking automation integrators that one of the big banking firms in South Africa is willing to provide a letter for, and we are the only bank automation software that this banking institution provides a letter of recommendation for that is agnostic. So the other partner only does one specific ERP, whereas we are ERP agnostic. Like I said, we do about 20,000 payments each month. There's about 6.5 billion rands worth of transactions that go through B Banking each month, and over certain periods it'll spike to quite a bit more than that. But I think what I want to highlight here, which is quite important, is we do not touch the customer's money. It really is a facilitation between the ERP and the bank for the file, for the payment file or the bank statement. And that is a significant difference in the market, is that you do not need to transfer your money to us in order for us to pay it. I know there's other service providers that will provide that service and then they'll pay on your behalf. All we do is we provide a secure platform where we integrate between the ERP and the bank. In addition to the bank statements and the payments that we offer, we also do remittance advices, which is something that the virtual Postman presentation that I think resonates with me, is that effective communication. And when do you communicate? And I'll highlight that, but during the presentation or the demo of the product. But what is very important for us here is that we send what we call a trusted remittance. So we will only send a remittance to the supplier once the bank has confirmed that the payment was successful. Often the remittance advice that goes out of the ERP, in all honesty, means little to nothing because the money hasn't left the bank yet. So we send a trusted remittance. And then in addition, we do the automated statement recon and receipts. Just from a brief architectural overview, just so that you can see where we fit in and what we do. So if you were to look at us, it's almost like payments as a service. Your ERP, Acumatica in this case, will be the facilitator of your master data. It's where your transaction will originate. It is where everything is controlled. So your business controls still remain in there. So your supplier banking details will record in Acumatica. The payment batch we will generate and release out of Acumatica. What we then do as B Banking is we obviously convert the file to the correct format, which is a big saving in effort when during an initial implementation cycle. So we sit in the middle here and we've got a direct link with the bank. So because of our association with the banks, we've got we're allowed to use some of their APIs, and what we then do is facilitate a few things. And a very important feature that we offer, which is quite unique, because you might look at this and go, but hang on, this is just a facilitation of the payment file. We've got a lot of what we try and achieve here is fraud prevention, reporting, improved exposure to information for approval on payments, which I'll show you during the demo. But a key thing for us, specifically in the SME market or the middle to large market, if you want to call it that, is fraud prevention. There's quite a high risk of fraud today for organizations with regards to payments, where you might have a fraudulent change to a bank account in your ERP. You might make a payment to a supplier by mistake, and we, into the incorrect bank details, and we try and prevent a lot of that. And we have seen in the past where we have prevented a significant amounts of fraud occurring, and then also allowing you the traceability and auditability of that. So in a nutshell, we're the facilitator of the bank statement and the bank payment file between the ERP and the bank. And then in addition, obviously, like I said, we do the remittance advice that goes out to your suppliers once that payment is received. Just quickly, from an Acumatica perspective, we try and utilize all the standard functionality as far as possible. So what we'll do is we provide you with a bundle that gets installed and maintained on your local, on your Acumatica instance, and we enable certain features through that bundle. So how do you capture your banking details? We make certain fields mandatory, etc., etc. And then very importantly, we do all types of payments. So it's not just the normal EFT payment file. We can generate the payment batch based on the prepayment cycle, whatever it might be. So we try and facilitate we want to automate the whole AP payment process. And then the bank statement import. Now, this is quite a key thing, and it's we're seeing it specifically in the Acumatica market quite a bit, is if you've got large volumes of transactions in your bank statements, this is quite a time-consuming exercise where someone needs to basically log in the morning, download the bank statement, import the bank statement into Acumatica, and then run the auto recon process. What we do from a banking perspective is we can choose how frequently we would like to fetch that bank statement from the bank, and we automatically import it, which immediately frees up time because we then trigger the standard Acumatica functionality in running the auto recons and the matching, etc. All right, so that gives you a brief overview before we go into the demo. I just wanted to highlight as well.
So, Honors, a question. I saw someone's hand up. Sorry,
sure.
If you want to
Fire
ask a
away.
question, yeah. Whoever put the hand up, please go ahead, just unmute, and you can ask a question.
Hi. Sorry to interrupt you there. I just thought I'd ask a quick question.
Sure.
Just on the bank sort of import, can it be done daily, and it's not necessarily from a bank statement, but from the daily transaction that would be on the bank?
So typically what we do is we leverage the host-to-host features of the bank. So if the bank exposes that to us, then yes, we can do the daily transactions, but we typically wait for the final bank statement to be made available by the bank and then run the import. We have not done that in the past. Normal practice is to import a bank statement.
Yeah.
But if that integration is available via the API and the host-to-host service in any of the 5 major banks, then we certainly would be able to.
Because the reason I asked that question is that, I'm interested in the bank sort of import part of it, because in our organization, we have our team do the bank or capturing every day, just so that our system is somewhat live.
Yeah.
And if we can get the daily transactions imported, that would be great. Then obviously they don't have to log into the bank and do the whole manual process.
Yeah. So we will definitely. So I think we are saying the same thing here, is you will be on a daily basis, and it can be more than daily. It can be twice daily, depending on your volume and depending on how often the bank makes a final bank statement available. We can import that. We can automatically import that. So it literally is waiting for the bank to make it available. So I do think the bank statement, and we can investigate it a bit, will keep that up to date, because in the end, you're going to recon to the bank statement. So
correct.
So you will have an up-to-date real-time importing and auto reconciling of the bank statements as and when a bank statement becomes available.
Yeah. All right.
So we would be able to alleviate a lot of pressure there.
All right. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. So just, and please feel free to pop in for questions. These monologues can get quite torturous if it goes on for too long. So just drop in if you've got a question. So just quickly, we've integrated on Acumatica with all the major banks in South Africa. We are about to embark on an international expansion into Namibia and Uganda, where we'll be doing on Acumatica integrations and banks there. So if you've got international customers with international banking needs, we would be able to do that as well. We are registered with the Payment Association of South Africa, which requires certain security checks for us. So it is a secure platform that we provide. Right, I'm going to go into the demo because that's probably what we need to see. So the whole idea here is that we've got a dashboard-driven application, whereas you will receive a notification whenever a payment requires approval, whenever a bank account requires approval. And then we also show you certain other analytics or information which might be useful. I want to spend some time on the AVS side, and I'm sure everybody that works on banking platforms in their organizations will be aware of this. This is the account verification services. And let me jump into that immediately. So if I go to the payment approvals, and please keep in mind that this is a dev environment, so things are sometimes a bit odd. So if I open up this specific payment line, shouldn't be here, should be on the bank accounts. So let me just go to the bank accounts so that I can show you the AVS. Now, AVS is stands for Account Verification Service. And you'll see, obviously, because this is demo data, everything here says AVS failed. Now, what we've got, and this is probably the most important verification you can have, is we've got a direct link with the bank that validates the bank details that you've got in your ERP with the details that they've got in the banking system. So you get independent third-party verification that you are paying who you think you're paying. So if you look at the verification criteria that AVS allows us to do, we've got 13 attributes that we can check, and you subscribe. And when I say subscribe, it's basically enable which ones you want to check. So the first thing we check is it a valid account number? So this is a direct link with the bank. We get a response back from the bank real time saying that, yes, it's a correct bank account. Does it match the account holder details? Obviously, we can see here that, hang on, this account number at the bank does not belong to this entity ID or this legal entity's identifier. Now, if you look at this from a supplier perspective, this could be it will be their company registration number. If you look at it from a payroll perspective, it could be the ID number or the passport number. Right, but you can choose to subscribe to all of this. Firstly, you can only pay into an open account, and is it allowed to receive money? We do have customers who also subscribe to this specific one, which is the account open for more than 3 months, with the theory being that fraud will not happen in an account that is in it's been in existence for a year or more. So it depends on what verification you want to get from the bank. We then get those results and publish it for you. So this AVS check is probably the most important and most beneficial thing that you can do, is we can get this independent third party, being the bank, who has to comply with FICA regulations to say that, am I paying who I think I'm paying? And I'm hopefully not, but I'm sure all of us have heard or have been part of or fell victim of some sort of fraudulent activity with regards to this. So when we do the bank account approvals, in this case, we do the AVS check, so you have that information available. We also then, like I said, we'll give you the bank account history, the account holder history. So we will require every time that the supplier's bank account details changes, we will require you to reapprove the bank account, and that's for audit purposes as well. And then any attachments that is associated to this bank account. So if there was a letter from the bank, can be attached to this approval as well. And we have a whole bunch of reports which can then be printed later on to say that, okay, but who approved these bank accounts? So when your auditors come in and they want to know who approved the bank accounts, you would be able to provide them with that report as a seeded report. Okay, moving on to the payment approvals. So very important when we do payments. Let me quickly find one here. So when you see payments, I think historically what we found is that payments typically, or any sort of approval, becomes almost like just click approve. Oh, Johan sent this to me, I can trust him and I approve. But we don't have, as approvers, we don't necessarily have all the data available to us that allows us to make an informed decision. So what we've done from an analytics perspective is we always give you by amount and by count when it comes to payment approvals. So we'll show you by count and by amount. And we try and give you information that is pertinent to you being able to say, okay, right, approve this payment. So what I've got here is I can see in this batch that 100% of it has approved bank accounts. Okay, but that's by amount. If I look at it by account, we can see that there's one where there is, there's one account which is not approved, which in essence in this payment batch, if I go to the transactions, and I'll find one payment in here somewhere where the account status is not approved. So then you can still choose to approve it or not and make the payment because you might be aware of that. And you can still approve the payment, but we would like to give you the information that is pertinent for you to make an informed decision. Another one, which is a very interesting dashboard for me, which I think provides a lot of valuable information, is when last did you pay all the suppliers in this batch? Now, this is a dummy payment batch, right? So there's a string of suppliers in here. Now, if I look at the analysis, I'll say, hang on, but there is some, so a big portion of it, no previous payments have been made. But there is also a portion where I have paid them in the last 7 days. Why does this become quite valuable is if my payment cycle on the supplier side is 30 days from statement. Why have I paid a supplier in the last 7 days? You would want to investigate this, and I would be able to go and see, based on the drill down capability, which of these suppliers have I paid in the last 7 days? And this becomes quite an interesting analysis when you start looking at payroll payments, and if it's a monthly payroll, why have I paid one of the employees in the last 7 days? So again, it's more than just facilitating the payment file to the bank. It really is about ensuring that when you make the payment, it is a payment that that will be successful, and you're paying true and accurate events in your business. That's the payment approval side. Before we go into the remittance advices, just some analytics, which is very useful, is we'll show you from a business perspective, what is your average payments per month. So if there is a spike somewhere, this should also drive some form of investigation. We'll show you accepted forex payments in Europe, in euros, pounds, dollars, etc. And we'll also show you system rejected payments. So these are typically payments which gets rejected because of the AVS that failed, etc., etc. And our rejection rate is quite low because of all the controls we've got in place via AVS. And then there's the user rejected payments. Now, these are what we typically refer to as good rejections, where an approver has done their job, they have the data available they need, and they've basically said, don't approve a specific payment. So as you can see, there's actually quite a lot of data that is involved when you do payments, and it's probably the final check you've got in controlling your cash flow. So a very important part of your business. And then, okay, so we've covered bank account approvals and payment approvals. Just with regards to the payment approvals, and we also try and show you, things like the file action date, the bank cutoff time, and things like that. So there's certain events that we will allow you with the right, if you've got the right access in banking to update. So if you've missed the bank cutoff, you don't want to go through the whole process of regenerating the payment. We will allow you to change the file action date, etc. Obviously, all of that has reports and audit reports that backs it that will say, I don't know, change the date on this file at this time, etc., etc. So, but there is, there's a lot of intuitive things we've allowed in banking over the last 20 years to evolve to make your payment process within your treasury department as smooth as possible. Then, if you
I can ask a question, or sorry, just
fire away.
Sorry, and it's a bit of not a tricky question, but it's something that happens. So ERP is quite good at preventing duplicate invoices. So if supplier sends you an invoice, the ERP won't let you process that invoice twice and pay it twice.
Yeah.
And this is maybe just a question because recently one of our big prospects we're talking to, I think you're talking to them with us as well, but when you do a take on in an ERP, not just Acumatica, it's often open item. Okay, so all the
Yeah.
history is not there. Now, what happens if a supplier's invoice somehow from 3 months ago arrives for payment? I can't think of any way. Maybe
No, we
of
do
preventing
flag
the
as
duplication. Yeah.
we do flag potential duplicates.
Okay, so it's like
as
an
part of
anomaly
the-
detection.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's great, because the fear is if you do take on and you don't take on history, which is normally the normal case, what happens? What is there to prevent duplication? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So we do flag potential duplicates. Just on the email health side, and this is quite an interesting one for us. Specifically, if you go look at some of our bigger customers where there's a high volume of payments. This is a big pain point for them, is where suppliers will tell them, listen, when am I going to get paid? I haven't received my remittance advice yet, but yet, they've been paid, the remittance advice has gone out. So what we offer for you as a B-banking subscriber is we will then, basically also tell you, so sorry, just going back to the dashboard, we will show you, you'll be notified if an email that you sent bounces back. So in other words, if a remittance advice does not get delivered, and that typically could be in mailbox is full, the mailbox is not accurate anymore. So we will get a notification so that, listen, we weren't able to deliver this one because it's a previously bounced address, or what we also sometimes see, okay, not in the demo environment, is that the account is full, or the mail account is. So then it allows your treasury department to be a lot more proactive in going back and saying, well, we're sending you this remittance advices, we're sending it to accounts@supplier.co.za, and it keeps bouncing back. Can you please advise where we should send our remittance advices to? And when you're dealing with a high volume, this is quite a time-consuming exercise. In fact, we're seeing that this is actually quite a big part of the headcount in some shared service centers, where people just deals with supplier queries and payment queries. But yeah, that gives you a very good overview, I think, on the payment side. It is very difficult to demonstrate a bank statement import. Basically, what we've got is we fetch the bank statement, we push it into Acumatica via the Acumatica's open interfaces. We've got quite a few customers utilizing just that, actually, on Acumatica. So it is a subscription-based per service. So, Bernard has all the details as well as to how it works. But yeah, that covers everything from my side, Bernard.
Great, fantastic. So are there any other questions, or any questions for Arno on regarding banking and bank automation? Anybody? Nope. Don't be shy, you can ask. Great. So if you do, if you're interested in having a look at the products further, or chatting to me together with Arno or Kurt, then just reach out to me. You can mail me at bernard.ford@erp365.co.za. Yeah, do that. And in terms of pricing, so I think B-banking is surprisingly inexpensive. And I think Arno has they work with tier 1 systems where the same product is a lot more expensive. It is an enterprise grade product, same with Kurt. But that they are priced to fit. So they're priced to fit our Acumatica mid-market price bracket, and even our lower mid-market smaller users. So don't be afraid if you are looking at banking automation and AR automation. It's reasonably inexpensive, fitting in with our kind of price model for the tier that you're in. So it provides good value. That's what I can say. So if there's no further questions from anybody, then I think we can conclude. No further questions?
No, all good, Ben.
All
Thanks
good.
so much.
Then great, thanks everybody. So this will be recorded, and we'll send the recording link out. It'll go onto YouTube channel, and we'll send the link out. So thanks for your attendance today, everybody, and look forward to chatting to you next month's tech update. Thanks everybody, and have a good afternoon.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye for now.